daily fourth graders. Welcome to our first lesson of Module 6. Module 6 is on decimal fractions, or we just call them decimals. Hopefully you've already done the Module 6 inquiry, in which you watched a few videos about decimals, and then you were to complete a Padlet assignment where you talked about what the relationship is between fractions and decimals. Alrighty. Well, we're going to get started today just reviewing a little bit about decimals and specifically the unit tenths, okay? So here on my whiteboard, I have a area model that represents one whole. How many parts is my whole split into? Yes, it is split up into 10 parts. If you were to name one of these parts using a fraction, what would you call it? You know what? I'm going to shade in one right now. What would you call this part? You're right. We would call it 1/10. I'm just going to write it over here on the side and draw an arrow. There we go. Okay. So we would call this 1/10 because we have one whole that is split up into 10 parts. And only one of the parts is shaded, so we have 1/10. Now, fractions and decimals are very much related. Fractions and decimals both show parts of a whole. So if we were to write 1/10 as a decimal, how do you think we would write it? Or think about the videos that you watched in your Module 6 inquiry. How do you think you would write 1/10? Well, we would write it like this. The reason we write it like this is because we know we don't have any holes, right? Because when we look at this, we have one hole and just one of the parts shaded. Okay, so we have no holes, so no ones. We have less than 1. This decimal point shows that we are going into numbers that are smaller than 1. This place value right here is called tenths, and we have one of them. The way we read this decimal is 1/10. The way we read this fraction is 1/10. We read them the exact same way. Now, there are other units after tenths that we will talk about later on in the unit. It goes tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, and so on. It never ends. But right now, we're just going to focus on tenths. Alrighty, so what I would like for us to do is to practice renaming fractions as decimals and renaming decimals as fractions. And we're also going to use our unit form as well. So on your piece of paper, I would like for you to number it 1 to 4. Here's my big eraser. You're going to number it 1 to 4. And I would like for you guys to start off. Number 1, I would like for you to write 2 other ways that you could represent 2/10. 2/10. I'll give you a hint. This is unit form. Show how you can write 2/10 using a fraction and using a decimal. We'll just go over this one and then you'll do the next few on your own. So 2/10, we know that our unit is tenths. So if we were to write it as a fraction, our denominator is going to be 10. And then our numerator, the number of parts that we have is 2. We can write 2/10. Or, as a decimal, we know that, our unit is tenths, and we have 2 of them. 2/10. You might hear people read it as 0.2. That's kind of a quick and easy way to say it, but it's not mathematically correct. The proper way to say it is 2/10. Alrighty, so I'm going to give you 3 more problems to do. And I would like for you to write 2 other ways to represent these numbers. Give me 1 second and I'll give you these problems. All right, friends. So here's numbers 2, 3, and 4. Please write 2 other ways to represent 9/10, 2 other ways to represent 4/10, and 2 other ways to represent 5 and 3/10. Alrighty, you guys. So you may want to pause the video to answer those problems. I will put the answers in the description box below. But for right now, I want to talk to you about your assignment that is going to go along with this lesson. So for your homework, you're going to need a centimeters ruler. All right. We're going to use a centimeters ruler because when you think about a centimeter is really, really tiny. And when you look at a ruler, a centimeters ruler, each centimeter is split into 10 parts. So using centimeters is very, very closely related to decimals. Alrighty. So in the schedule with the assignments, I put a link to an online ruler in case you didn't have one. So if you're like me and all my rulers are at school, I don't have any in my home, I needed to use a online ruler. So the link to this website is in the schedule, like I said. So for your assignment, you are going to measure any object using a centimeters ruler. You then are going to show that measurement as a mixed number. All right, a mixed number would be a number with a whole number and a fraction. You're going to represent it as a decimal. You'll represent it as an improper fraction. And you'll also draw an area model to represent it, okay? So it's kind of like what we did at the beginning of the video. And all these instructions will be in the assignment. But I just want to give you an example. So again, here I have my ruler on my phone. Kind of silly, I know, but hey, it works. It's a resource. And the object I'm going to measure is my Purell, my hand sanitizer. I'm going to measure the bottom part of this. So it's going to be kind of hard for me to show you measuring it because this angle doesn't really work for me. So I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to measure it. And you have to be very, very precise because, again, centimeters, you'll see that each centimeter is broken up into 10 parts. Do you know what those little parts are called? Those parts are called millimeters. So in a centimeter, we have 10 millimeters. So 1 millimeter would be 1/10 of a centimeter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure. See, I'm measuring this part on my ruler, and I have to be very, very precise because millimeters are very small. So starting at 0, I see that the bottom part of my sanitizer is 5 centimeters and 3 millimeters. So real quick, I'm going to write that down. 5 centimeters, there we go. 5 centimeters and 3 millimeters. Okay. 5 centimeters, 3 millimeters. We know, again, that a millimeter is 1/10 of a centimeter. Okay? So, again, your homework, you're going to be rewriting this measurement as a mixed number, mixed fraction, an improper fraction, a decimal, and draw it in an area model. And when you upload it to Padlet, you can also upload a picture of your object if you'd like. I suggest doing a smaller object because centimeters are very small, but you can really do whatever you want. All right, you guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to our first lesson for Module 6. This, I didn't say it at the beginning of the video, but this lesson really covers lessons 1 and 2 of Module 6. So you really are doing 2 lessons in 1 today. All right, you guys. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing your Padlets. See you later.